My husband said his work trips were just business, until I found a plane ticket in our son's backpack. I followed him, and what I saw. My name is Eliza. I'm 34, married, or, well, was. I have one son, 7 years old. His name is Caleb, and he's the only reason I didn't completely lose my mind during what I'm about to tell you. It started innocently. My husband Grant had been taking more and more business trips. He worked in corporate logistics, something about warehouse optimization, and he always had a reason to be in Denver or Phoenix or Dallas, sometimes gone 3 days, sometimes 5, but he always came back with a kiss, a smile, a souvenir magnet for Caleb, and an expense report. And I trusted him. God, I trusted him so much. Until a Tuesday morning changed everything. Caleb had forgotten his lunchbox, and I was digging through his backpack to find it. But instead I found a folded paper tucked inside a math worksheet. A boarding pass, done, but not in Grant's name. The name read Renee Matthews. At first I thought maybe it was a mistake, a mix-up. Maybe Caleb grabbed a piece of trash off the ground. I called him over and asked, "Sweetie, where did you get this?" He looked at it and shrugged. "Daddy gave it to me. Said not to lose it." My stomach turned, that feeling like cold water dumped down your back in the middle of winter. Something was wrong, very wrong. I didn't ask Grant about it that night. I needed more. I needed to be sure. So I waited and snooped. And finally, when he told me about another upcoming conference in Houston, I smiled, nodded, and packed his bag for him. But I also booked my own ticket, different airline, same destination. I left Caleb with my sister and followed him. And what I saw in Houston changed everything. I landed in Houston a few hours after Grant. I took a cab to the hotel he claimed the conference was in, one of those business class chains with big glass windows and fake plants in the lobby. I walked through it once, slowly. No Grant. I asked at the front desk if there was a logistics conference being held. The clerk checked her screen and shook her head. Nothing scheduled this week. Strike one. I didn't panic. I told myself maybe the conference was off-site. Maybe he had the wrong hotel, but I wasn't really lying to myself. I already knew. I called him. "Hey, babe, how's Houston?" He answered casually, a little distracted. "Busy, same as always. I just stepped out of a panel, actually. Lots of speakers." I looked around the nearly empty lobby. "You sound tired." "Yeah, it's nonstop. Listen, I'll call you later, okay? I think we're grabbing dinner with some clients." Clients, right. I hung up and went to the airport. I remembered the name on the ticket, Renee Matthews. I stood near the arrivals gate and waited. I had no photo, no idea what she looked like. But something in my gut said, stay. 2 hours later, I saw her. She came out with a bright red carry-on and an even brighter smile. She looked around like she was expecting someone. And that someone was Grant. He pulled up in a rental car, got out, and wrapped her in a hug that was far too familiar. Then he kissed her. Right there, full on the mouth. I couldn't breathe. They loaded her suitcase in the back and drove off. I didn't cry. Not then. I followed them in a cab. They didn't go to the business hotel. They went to a boutique resort on the edge of the city. Private bungalows, palm trees, candlelit dinners, strike two. I booked a room in the same place. It cost more than I could justify, but I needed to be close. I needed to see it with my own eyes. That night, I sat on the patio outside my bungalow and watched them eat dinner by the pool, laughing, holding hands. His wedding ring was gone. Strike three. I wasn't angry. Not yet. I was numb, hollow, like the floor beneath my life had collapsed. I didn't sleep much, but I had a plan now. And it started with a phone call, not to Grant, not to Renee, to my lawyer. I stayed 2 more nights at that resort. I didn't follow them anymore. I didn't need to. Every moment I watched from a distance was another nail in the coffin of my marriage. They were a couple. Not sneaking around, not ashamed. They were out in the open, holding hands, laughing by the pool, toasting with wine over dinner. Grant looked younger, lighter, like someone who had shed a heavy coat and forgotten the cold behind him. And me? I was alone in my room, shaking. I wanted to scream, to storm over and dump a drink on him, on her. I wanted to ruin their little fantasy. But I didn't. I wasn't ready. I needed proof. I needed control. The morning of the third day, I asked the front desk if they could send someone to fix the TV in my room. It was a pretense, of course. I slipped a $100 bill into the technician's hand and asked the real question. Can I get the name and room number of the couple staying in Bungalow 14? He hesitated, glanced around, and said, You didn't hear it from me. Renee Matthews, room 14, checked in with a Grant Sloan. My husband, using his real name. I thanked him and waited until they left for the afternoon. I walked to their bungalow, knocked, waited. No answer. I knew I had about 20 minutes. I picked the lock, not with tools. I had found a master key card earlier when a cleaner left it in a laundry cart unattended. I wasn't proud of it, but I was done playing nice. Inside, it was worse than I imagined. His clothes were everywhere, her toiletries beside his. A bottle of champagne in an ice bucket, matching robes on the bed. I took photos, every corner, every item. I opened drawers and found a handwritten card from her. To my love, my rock. Here's to us, to freedom, and to the future we deserve. That was the moment the tears came. I sat on the edge of their bed and sobbed like a child. It wasn't just betrayal. It was abandonment. He had already moved on, already carved out a life that didn't include me, or Caleb. But I didn't just cry. I acted. I placed a small recorder under the bed, another by the window. I set my phone to record video through the curtains from my own bungalow, zoomed in on theirs. I spent the rest of that day collecting everything, every timestamp, every kiss, every touch. By evening, I had a full folder. That night, I sent it all to my lawyer, photos, video, audio. My lawyer called back with one sentence. He just gave you the divorce settlement of your dreams. I flew home the next morning. Caleb was still asleep when I got in. My sister looked at me with wide, knowing eyes. She didn't ask anything, just hugged me tight. Whatever it is, you'll get through it. I nodded, but I wasn't sure I believed it. That evening, Grant came home. As if nothing had happened. He hugged Caleb, kissed me on the cheek, and said, Trip was exhausting. Thank God I'm home. I stood there watching him, smiling, lying, touching me with the same hands that had held her hours earlier. Did you get a lot of work done? I asked. Yeah. Long panels. Late nights. I bet. He didn't notice my tone. He didn't notice that something had shifted in the air. I didn't confront him that night. I needed the weekend. I needed space. But I moved the divorce documents into my nightstand. They were ready. All that was left was the reveal. I spent the next 2 days in a strange state of calm. The kind of calm that only comes after a fire has consumed everything. I wasn't crying anymore. I wasn't shaking. I was watching. Waiting. Every move Grant made, every lie that rolled off his tongue, I cataloged it. He had no idea what was coming. I cooked his favorite dinner that Friday night. He came home from work, loosened his tie, kissed me on the forehead, and asked, What's the occasion? Just happy to have you home, I said. He smiled and sat down at the table like he hadn't just torn our family apart. He played with Caleb after dinner, tossed him in the air, made silly faces. My son laughed so hard he got the hiccups, and my heart broke all over again. That night, when Grant went to shower, I opened the nightstand drawer and pulled out the manila envelope. Inside were the divorce papers, along with a printed photo of him kissing Renee at the airport, and the receipt for the resort bungalow, and a copy of the love note. I placed them all neatly on his pillow. Then I sat in the living room with a glass of wine, watching the clock tick. He came out in his robe, rubbing a towel through his hair, humming some stupid tune. He turned the corner into our bedroom. Silence. Then, Eliza? I took another sip. Yes? What is this? It's everything. He appeared in the doorway a moment later, eyes wide. You followed me. You went through my stuff. I followed my instincts. Turns out they were smarter than you. You're spying on me now? You know how crazy this looks? I stood up slowly. What looks crazy is you cheating on your wife and still coming home like nothing happened. What looks crazy is you holding our son and pretending you're a family man while you're building a new life with someone else." He opened his mouth, closed it, then tried again. "It's not what you think." "Oh? Enlighten me. What is it, Grant? A logistical error?" He ran a hand down his face. "I never meant for you to find out." "And that makes it better?" "I still love you. I didn't want to hurt you." I laughed, a dry, bitter sound. "You didn't want to hurt me? You kissed her at the airport. You stayed in a resort with her. You let Caleb hold her boarding pass." His face twisted. "That was a mistake." "You're damn right it was." He looked at the papers on the pillow, his shoulders sinking. "So what? You're just giving up?" "No, Grant. You gave up. I'm just finishing what you started." He didn't speak for a long moment. Then he sat on the bed, head in his hands. "What about Caleb?" I swallowed hard. "He deserves a mother who respects herself, and a father who doesn't lie. If you want to be in his life, it won't be through pretending everything's fine. It'll be through courts and scheduled visits." He looked up at me, something like fear in his eyes. Or maybe regret. "You won't let me explain? You had your chance. For years." And with that, I turned and walked out of the room. I didn't sleep that night. Neither did he. In the morning, he was gone before Caleb woke up. He left a note. "I need time to think. I'm sorry." I folded it in half and threw it in the trash. The weekend after Grant left was eerily quiet. Caleb asked where Daddy had gone, and I gave him the gentlest version of the truth I could muster. "Daddy and Mommy are having some grown-up disagreements. He needed a little time to think." Caleb blinked at me with those same hazel eyes he got from Grant. "Did he go on another work trip?" My throat tightened. "Something like that." He nodded slowly, then returned to his Lego spaceship like nothing had happened. Children are resilient, but they're not blind. Caleb sensed something had shifted. He stopped asking to FaceTime Grant. He hugged me more. He checked the window when he heard cars pull into the driveway, and when none of them were his dad's, he just went quiet. I spent Monday at the lawyer's office. Her name was Lisa, a sharp, unflinching woman who wore her empathy like armor, soft on the inside, steel on the outside. "I've seen it all," she said as she flipped through the evidence. "But this? You did your homework. We've got him." She explained the custody process, the financial split, the likely outcome. Thanks to the evidence, I would likely keep the house, primary custody, and even spousal support if I wanted it. Grant would be lucky to get weekends. The legal language felt cold, detached, but it grounded me. Every form I signed was a step away from the betrayal. By Wednesday, Grant still hadn't come home, but Renee had. It was 8:30 at night when the doorbell rang. Caleb was brushing his teeth. I wasn't expecting anyone. When I opened the door, she stood there, Renee, wearing jeans and a beige sweater, no makeup, no smile, just a tight-lipped expression and a folded piece of paper in her hand. "Eliza?" she asked. I didn't answer. I just stared. "I'm not here to fight," she said quietly. "Can I talk to you?" I stepped out onto the porch and closed the door behind me. "You've got 5 minutes." She handed me the paper, a letter, Grant's handwriting. "I found this in his bag," she said. "I didn't know he was married. He said he was divorced, that you'd left him, that you were bitter and vindictive. I believed him. God help me, I did." I didn't open the letter. Not yet. I looked her dead in the eyes. "So, what do you want from me? Forgiveness?" "No," she said. "I just wanted to tell you, I'm not part of this anymore. I told him not to contact me again. He lied to both of us." Silence stretched between us. "Did you love him?" I asked. She looked down. "I think I loved the version of him he showed me, but now I don't even know who that was." I believed her, not because I wanted to, because she looked like I had just weeks before, blindsided and humiliated. When she left, I stood on the porch for a long time. The letter burned in my hand. I finally opened it after Caleb fell asleep. "Eliza, I don't know how to explain myself without sounding like a coward. I didn't plan for this to happen. I didn't go looking for someone else. It just happened. But I never stopped loving you. I just felt lost, like I wasn't myself anymore. With Renee, I felt seen again, like a man. But when I saw you walk out with those papers, I realized I'd lost the only person who ever truly knew me. I know I don't deserve forgiveness. I just hope you'll let me still be a part of Caleb's life. He's the best thing I've ever done, Grant. No apology, no ownership, just a weak plea for access to the one thing he hadn't fully destroyed, our son. I didn't respond. Instead, I forwarded the letter to my lawyer. By Friday, the court had accepted the initial petition. Grant was served the next morning. He showed up at the house later that afternoon, but I didn't answer the door. For once, it was his turn to stand outside and wait. The divorce hearing was set for a Tuesday morning in late September. The sky was overcast, gray like the inside of my mind. I didn't cry. Not even when I stepped into the courtroom and saw Grant sitting there in a stiff navy suit, eyes red-rimmed like he hadn't slept. He didn't look at me when I walked in, but I could feel the tension radiating off him like a static field. Lisa, my lawyer, gave me a nod. She had everything: photos, receipts, timestamps, the letter. There was no drawn-out trial, no dramatic objections or shouting matches, just a quiet, efficient dissolution of a 10-year marriage. Grant requested joint custody. I requested primary. Lisa laid out our case clearly: the infidelity, the deception, the emotional instability. Renee's statement had been notarized and included. Her declaration that she'd been misled by a man who swore he was divorced sealed it. The judge reviewed the file in silence, then said, "Based on the evidence, I'm awarding primary custody to Mrs. Sloan with supervised visitation for Mr. Sloan pending parenting review." I didn't react outwardly, but inside, something cracked loose. Relief. A release of a weight I'd carried alone for far too long. When it was over, Grant finally looked at me. "I guess you got everything you wanted," he said, voice low. I met his gaze, steady. "Number, I wanted my husband. I wanted a family. You took that away." He looked away. I turned and walked out of the courthouse. The weeks that followed were strange, quiet, routine. Caleb adjusted better than I expected. I kept our home stable, warm, predictable. I worked part-time at a design firm and spent every free moment with him. We did puzzles, baked cookies, and went to the park almost every Saturday. Grant showed up for the supervised visits. At first they were awkward. Caleb clung to me, unsure, but over time, with guidance, he began to engage again. It wasn't the same. It never would be. But it was something. One evening, after a visit, Grant waited by my car. "I'm seeing a therapist," he said. I raised an eyebrow. "I'm not telling you because I want anything. I need to get better. For him. For me." I nodded. "That's good. Keep going." He hesitated. "Do you hate me?" I thought about it. Number. "But I don't love you anymore either." His shoulders dropped, but he nodded. "Fair enough." Months passed. The first Christmas without him was hard. Caleb asked if Daddy would be there. I said no, but we can send him a card if you'd like. He nodded solemnly and drew a picture of the three of us standing under a snow-covered tree. I cried in the kitchen while he taped it into the envelope. But something beautiful happened in those months. I found myself again. I started painting, something I hadn't done in years. I reconnected with old friends. I slept through the night without waking up in panic. I breathed easier. One day I looked at my reflection and didn't see a broken woman. I saw someone who had survived. It's been over a year now. The pain is still there, but it no longer defines me. I share custody with Grant and we're civil. Polite. We make it work for Caleb. That's what matters. Renee reached out once, months later. She sent a short email. "I hope you and your son are doing well. I think of you often. I'm sorry for the role I played, however unknowing. I've started over too. Take care." I never replied, but I appreciated it. As for Grant, he continues to see his therapist. He's calmer now, more present. But he'll never be the man I married. That version of him doesn't exist anymore. Maybe it never did. And me? I'm free. I'm stronger than I ever thought I could be. And I've learned something invaluable. Sometimes the most painful betrayals lead us back to ourselves.